on sipurei masios, the third story. The son could not walk, failed through the son who could not walk. The tale once there was a sage. A tale once there was a sage before his death. He called his sons and family and left them a will that they should water fruit trees. Noise, you may engage in other needs as well, but this you must constantly do, water trees. But this you must constantly do, water trees. Afterwards the sage passed away, and he left children, and he had one son who could not walk. He could stand, but he could not walk. His brothers would give him his needs for livelihood, and they gave him so much that he had left over. He would save up for himself bit by bit, whatever remained beyond his needs, until he had amassed a certain amount, and then he came to the decision. And then he came to the decision. Why should I get a stipend from them? Better that I begin some commerce. And though he could not walk, he came up with the solution to hire a carriage and assistant. נחman, literally faithful or trusted one, and a wagon driver, and to travel with them to Leipzig. And he would be able to conduct trade, even though he could not walk. When the family heard this, it pleased them very much. And they also said, why should we give him some sustenance? Better let him make a livelihood. And they lent him more money so that he could conduct trade. He did so, and he hired a carriage and assisted at a wagon driver. And he sat down, and they came to an inn. The assistant said that they should spend the night there, but he did not want to. They pleaded with him, but he was stubborn with them. They traveled away from there and got lost in the forest. And got lost in the forest, and thieves ambushed them. And the thieves had come about according to a story. There was once a famine. Someone came to the city and proclaimed whoever wants food should come to him. Several people came to him. When he saw that the men who came to him were not useful to him, he would reject them. To one he would say, you can be a craftsman. While to another he said, you can be a miller. And he chose only intelligent youths and went with them into the forests. And proposed to them that they become thieves. Being that from here there are roads going to Leipzig, to Breslau, inserted in a city in Germany, and to other places merchants travel through here. We will rob them, we will have money. So did the thief who had earlier made the proclamation in the city. Tell them the thieves ambushed them. That is the one who could not walk, and his men, namely the assistant and the wagon driver. The assistant and the wagon driver were able to flee, and they fled. The assistant and the wagon driver were able to flee, and they fled, and he was left on the wagon. The thieves came to him too, and the thieves came to him and took from him the chest of money and asked him, why are you sitting? He replied he could not walk, and they stole the chest and the horses, and he remained on the carriage. נחman, the assistant and the wagon driver who had fled away, came to the decision that in as much as they had taken out loans from feudal landlords, princes. Why should they return home where they could be placed in change? Better to be made there where they had fled, and a thief and assistant and wagon driver there. Now the one who could not walk, who remained on the wagon as long as he had the dry bread that he had brought from home, he ate it. Then when it ran out and he had nothing to eat, he thought about what to do. He threw himself out of the carriage to eat grass. He slept alone in the field and was frightened, and his strength was so taken from him that he could not even stand, only crawl. And he would eat the grass that was around him, and as long as he could reach grass and eat, he would eat it. And when the grass around him ran out so that he could no longer reach, he crawled further away and ate again. Thus he ate grass for a time. Once he came to an herb, the likes of which he had never eaten before. This herb pleased him very much because he had been eating grasses for a long time, so he knew them very well, and such an herb he had never seen before. He came to the decision to tear it out with the truth of the root was a diamond. The diamond was quadrangular. The diamond was quadrangular. Yiddish Shir Ekik, Hebrew Merubah had 4 sides, and each side had in it a different segula, a charm, a special ability. On one side of the diamond it was written that whoever grasps that side, it would take him where day and night be together. That is where the sun and the moon gather in unison. When he tore out the herb with its root, which is where the diamond was, it happened that he grasped that side, that is the side of which the segula was. It would take him to the place where day and night come together. It took him there where day and night come together. He looked around and now he was there. He heard the sun and the moon talking, and the sun was complaining. And the sun was complaining before the moon, inasmuch as there is a tree that has many branches, fruits and leaves, and each of its branches, fruits and leaves, has a segula. One is conducive, the segula, to having children. Another is conducive to livelihood. Another is conducive to healing the sickness. Another to healing this sickness. Another is conducive for another sickness. Each tiny bit pixel of the tree is conducive to something else. This tree should have been watered, and if it would be watered, it would be very special, potent mesugel. But not only do I not water it, I shine on it too, and dry it out. The moon answered and said, you worry about the worry of others. I will tell you my worry, inasmuch as I have 1,000 mountains, and around the 1,000 mountains are another 1,000 mountains, and that literally there is the place of the demons. And the demons have chicken-like feet. They have no strength in their feet, so they take strength from my feet. And because of this, I have no strength in my feet, and I have a powder that is the dust, that is a cure for my feet. But a wind comes and carries it away. The sun responded, that is what you worry about. I will tell you a cure, inasmuch as there is a path, and many paths branch off from that path. One is the path of the tzaddikim, righteous, even someone who is a tzaddik. Here the dust from that path is sprinkled underneath every one of the steps, so that with every step he is stepping on the dust. Another is the path of heretics, even someone who is a heretic. Here the dust of the path is sprinkled underneath each of the steps as mentioned. And there is the path of the insane, even someone who is insane. Here the dust of this path is sprinkled underneath each of his steps is mentioned. And so there are several paths, and there is a different path, being that there are tzaddikim who accept suffering upon themselves. And there is a different path, being that there are tzaddikim who accept suffering upon themselves. The landlord marks them in chains, and they have the strength in their feet. Dust from this path is sprinkled underneath the feet, so that they have strength in their feet. So go therefore, there is plenty of dust there, and you will have healing for your feet. All this did the sun say to the moon, and he heard all this. That is the one who had no strength in his feet heard all this. Meanwhile, meanwhile he looked at the diamond on another side, and saw that it was written there that whoever grasped that side, it would bring him to the path from which many paths go out, namely the path mentioned above, of which the sun informed the moon. He grasped that side, and it carried him away to there. That is to the path. He placed his feet on the path of He placed his feet on the path whose dust was healing for the feet, and he was immediately healed. He went and took the dust from all of the paths and bounded each dust separately in a bundle, namely he bound the dust from the path of the righteous separately, and likewise the dust of the remaining paths he bound separately. So he made himself bundles from the powders and took them with him. He came to a decision and went to the forest where he was robbed. When he arrived there, he chose a tall tree near the path from which the thieves go out to rob. He took the dust of the righteous and the dust of the insane and mixed them together and spread them on the path, and he went up the tree and sat there to see what would happen with them. He saw the robbers going out, having been sent out by the elder robber mentioned above to rob. When the robbers came to their path, as soon as they took the steps on the powder, they became sleepy men, began to cry out for the years and days. As soon as they came, as soon as they took a step on the powder, they became tzaddikim and began to cry out for the years and days, for having robbed till then and having killed several souls. But since it was mixed there with the powder of the insane, they became insane inside. Became insane tzaddikim and began to argue with each other. One said, because of you we kill, and another said, because of you. So did they argue until they killed each other. The elder robber set for robbers, and it was also as before, and they also killed each other, and so it was each time until they were all killed off, until he, namely the one who previously had no strength in his feet, who was up in a tree, understood that there were none remaining of the robbers except for him alone, namely the elder robber who commanded them all and one another. He went down from the trees and swept up the dust from the path, and sprinkled only dust from the path of the righteous, and went to sit in the tree again. Now the elder robber was very puzzled that he had sent all the thieves and none of them had returned. He decided to go personally with the one that still remained with him, and as soon as he came onto the path with the sun mentioned above and sprinkled the dust of the righteous by itself, he became a tzaddik. He began to cry out to the other bandit over his soul, Hebrew nafsho, literally Yiddish Zion, and take his years and days, over how he had murdered so many souls and robbed so much, and he tore graves and was penitent and very remorseful. When he, the son who was sitting in the tree, saw he had remorse and was very penitent. He had remorse and was very penitent. That's not one. He came down from the tree as soon as the robber noticed a person. He began to cry out, woe to me, I have done this and that, woe, give me penitence. He answered him, return to me the chest that you robbed from me, for it was written by them on all the stolen goods when it was stolen. And from whom he said to him, I will immediately return it to you. I will even give you the treasures of stolen goods that I have. Just give me, I will even give you all the treasures of stolen goods that I have. Just give me penitence. He said to him, the penitence is just to go into the town, call out and confess, I am the one who made the proclamation at that time during the famine, that whoever wants food should come to me. That whoever wants food should come to me, and made many robbers, and I murdered and robbed many souls. That is your penitence. The robber gave him all his treasures and went with him into the city, and did so. Judgment was passed in that town, the sense he had murdered so many souls, he should be hanged so people would know, meaning so that others would be edified. So that others would be edified. After this, he, that is the one who previously had no strength in his feet, decided to go to the 2,000 mountains mentioned above to see what takes place there. When he arrived there, he stood far from the 2,000 mountains, and he saw there were many thousands of thousands and myriads of families of demons, because they are fruitful and multiply and have children as those humans, and they are very numerous. And he saw the kingship sitting on a throne upon upon which no one born of a woman, meaning no human, had ever sat on such a throne. And he saw how they make scotchery. One tells over that he had harmed someone's baby. Another tells how he had harmed someone's hand. Another tells how he had harmed someone's foot, and other such scotchery. Meanwhile he noticed a father and mother demon walking and weeping. They were asked, why are you weeping? They answered, they have a son whose routine was that he would go his way and we would return at the same time. But now it has been a long time and he still has not come. They were brought before the king ordered to send messengers throughout the world to find him. As they were returning from the king, the parents met up with someone who used to go together with the son. He asked them, why are you weeping? They told him. He answered them, I will tell you, being that we had a little island at sea, which was our territory. The king to whom this island pertained went and wanted to build palaces there, and had already laid a foundation. Your son took me that we should harm him. We went and took away the king's strength. He got involved with doctors, but they could not help him. So we started getting involved with sorcerers. There was one sorcerer that who knew his family. He did not know my family, therefore he could not do anything to me, but he knew his family. So he seized him and is torturing him severely. They brought him, that is the demon, who told over all of this to the king, and he told over for the king. To the king said, let them return the strength to the king to whom the island pertained. He replied, there was someone by us who had no strength, and we had given him, and we had given away the strength to him. The king said, let me take that strength away from him and return it to the king. They answered him, he had become a cloud. They answered him, he had become a cloud, that is the demon to whom they had given away the king's strength, had become a cloud. The king said that they should summon a cloud and bring it here. They sent an emissary for him, נחman. He, namely the one who previously had no strength in his feet, who had witnessed all this, decided, I will go and see how these people, i.e. these demons, become a cloud. He followed the emissary and came to the city where the cloud was. He asked the townspeople, why is there a cloud here in town? They answered him, here in town, on the contrary, there has never been any cloud here. Only for a short time has such a cloud covered this city. And the emissary came and summoned the cloud and went away from there. He, that is the one who previously had no strength in his feet, came to the decision to follow them to hear what they were saying. He heard the messenger, asked him, how did it come to be that he became a cloud here? He answered him, I will tell you a story. I will tell you a story. Once there was a sage, Hebrew, an elder, and the emperor, Caesar of the country, was a big heretic, and he made the entire country into heretics. The sage went and summoned his whole family and said to them, surely you see that the emperor is a big heretic and has made the entire country into heretics, and some of the family he has already made into heretics. Therefore let us set out for the wilderness, so that we will be able to remain in our faith in God. Blessed be he. They agreed on this. The sage uttered the divine name. They brought them to a wilderness. They agreed on this. The sage uttered a divine name that brought them to a wilderness. This wilderness did not please him. He again uttered a name and took them to yet another wilderness. This wilderness too did not please him. He uttered another name. He uttered another name, another name again. It took him to another wilderness. The wilderness did please him. This wilderness did please him, and the wilderness was close to the 2,000 mountains mentioned above. The sage went and made a circle around them, so that no one would be able to come near them. Now there is a tree that, if it would be watered, there would not remain any of this that is of the demons. Therefore some of us stand digging day and night, allowing no water to reach the tree. The other one asks, why do they have to stand day and night digging? Once they have dug one time, then the water will be unable to come. It should suffice. He answered him, since there are gossipers among us, and these gossipers go and instigate disputes between the one king and the other king, and this causes wars, and the wars cause earthquakes, and the earth around the ditches falls in, which allows water to reach the tree. Therefore they must stand constantly and dig. And when there is a new king among us, they make all the mockery before him, and they rejoice. One jests in how he harmed the baby, and how the mother mourns over it. Another shows another mockery, and similarly many various mockeries. And when the king gets into festivity, he goes and takes a stroll with his ministers and tries to uproot the tree, because if the tree would not exist at all, it would be very good for us. And the king strengthens his heart very much in order to uproot the tree entirely. When he approaches the tree gives a great shout. So a great fear falls on him, and he must turn around. Once a new king was appointed among us, that is among the demons. For all this did the cloud tell to the emissary as mentioned. Great mockery was done before him as mentioned, and he became very joyous, and made his heart very bold, and wanted to tear out the tree completely, and wanted to tear out the tree completely. And he went out to stroll with his ministers, brazened his heart exceedingly, and ran to tear out the tree completely. When he arrived at the tree, it let out a great cry at him, and a great fear fell on him. He turned around and was very angry, and he was coming back, and meanwhile took a look and noticed men sitting. This was the aforementioned sage. With this man the king sent from his people to do something that is to harm them, as was the custom. When the sage's family saw them, they were overcome with fear. The elder, that is the sage, called out to them, do not fear. When the demons arrived there, they were unable to come close due to the circle that was around them. He sent other messengers, but they too were unable to come close. The king came in great danger. The king came in great anger and went himself, and he too was unable to come close to them. The king came in great anger and went himself, and he too was unable to come close to them. He asked the elder to let him in to them. The elder said to him, since you requested of me, I will indeed let you in. However, it is not customary for a king to go alone, so I will let you in with one another. He opened a little door for them. They entered, and he closed the circle again. The king said to the elder, how do you come and settle on a place? He told to him. He said to him, why is it your place? It is my place. The king said to the elder, you have no fear of me? He said, no. He said again, you have no fear at all? And he displayed himself, becoming very big up to the sky, and wanted to swallow him. The elder said, I still have no fear of you at all, but if I want, you will be afraid of me. And he went and prayed a bit, and big thick clouds formed, and there was great thunder, and thunder kills them very effectively. So all his ministers that were with him were killed, and none remained except for the king and the one who was there with him in the circle. He begged him, that is the king begged the elder, for the thunder to cease, and it ceased. The king replied and said to the elder, since you are such a person, I will give you a book of all the demon families. I will give you a book of all the demon families, for there are miracle workers. For there are miracle workers. Balashamos who only know of one demon family, and even that family they do not know completely. But I will give you a book in which all of the families are written. For by the king they are all recorded, and even a newborn is also registered by the king. The king sent to the one who was with him after the book. Hence the sage did very rightly by letting him in with another, for otherwise who would he send? For otherwise who would he send? He brought him the book, he opened it and saw that inside were thousands of thousands and 10,000s of 10,000s of the families. The king promised the elder that they would never harm the elder's entire family, that they would never harm the elder's entire family. And he commanded to bring portraits of his whole family, and even if a baby was born, to immediately bring its portrait so that they would not harm anyone from the elder's family. Afterwards, when the time came for the elder to leave the world, he called his sons and commanded them and said to them, I give you this book. Surely you see that I have the power to use this book in holiness. Surely you see that I have the power to use this book in holiness, and even still I do not use it. I just have faith in Hashem Yisborach. Blessed be His name. You too should not use it, even if there will be one of you who will be able to use it in holiness. He should still not use it and only have faith in Hashem Yisborach. Blessed the name, blessed be He. Then the sage died and the book was passed on as an inheritance and came to his grandson. Then the sage died, and the book was passed on as an inheritance and came to his grandson, his son's son, and he had the power to use it in holiness, but he just had faith in Hashem Yisborach. Hashem, blessed be His name, and did not use it as the elder had willed. The gossipers that were among the demons tried to persuade the elder's grandson, since you have grown daughters and you are unable to support them and marry them off, therefore use this book. And he did not know that they were trying to persuade him, and thought that his heart was advising him to do this. So he traveled to his grandfather, to his grave, and asked him, being that you left a testament that we should not use this book, but only have faith in Hashem Yisborach. Hashem, blessed be His name. Now my heart is telling me to use it. נחman, his grandfather who was deceased, answered him, even though you can use it in holiness, it is better that you should have faith in the Hashem Yisborach, and Hashem, blessed be His name, and not use it. That Hashem Yisborach, Hashem, blessed be His name, will help you, and that is what he did. And the day came to pass when the king of the country where this grandson of the elder lived became ill. He got involved with doctors, but they could not heal him due to the high heat there in that country. The treatments did not help. The king of the country decreed that the Jews should pray for him. Our king, that is the king of the demons, said, since his grandson has the power to use this book in holiness and he still does not use it, therefore we need to do him a favor. He commanded me to become a cloud there, so that the king of the country would be healed by the treatments that he had already taken, and the treatments he would yet take. And the grandson knew nothing about this, and that is why I have become a cloud here. All this is what the cloud told the emissary, and the one who previously had no strength in his feet was following them and heard everything. The one who was a cloud was brought before the demon king, and the king commanded to take the strength from him and return it to the other king from whom they had taken away his strength, because he had built on their territory as mentioned, and returned the strength to him. The son of the demons, whose father and mother had wept for him as mentioned, had returned, and he arrived there afflicted and without strength, because he had been severely tortured there. He was very enraged at the sorcerer who had tortured him so much there. So he ordered his children and his family to always ambush the sorcerer. But among the demons are talkers, that is gossipers, and they went and told the sorcerer that they were waiting to ambush him so that he could protect himself from them. The sorcerer performed some strategy and called upon more sorcerers who knew more families in order to protect himself from them. The demon son and his family were very enraged at the tattlers for having revealed his secret to the sorcerer. Once it happened that some members of the demon Once it had happened that some members of the demon son's family and some of the tattlers went together on the king's watch. The son's family went and made false accusations against the tattlers, and the king killed the tattlers. The remaining tattlers were enraged, and they went and made a rebellion. That is a huge war between all the kings, and there were hunger and infirmity, murder and plagues among the demons. and there were hunger, infirmity, and there were hunger, infirmities, murder, and plagues among the demons. So wars were waged between all the kings, and this caused an earthquake, and all the earth around the tree fell in, and the tree was watered completely. None of them, that is, of the demons, survived whatsoever, and they became as if they had never existed. None of them, that is, of the demons, survived whatsoever, and they became as if they had never existed. Rebbe Nachman's words, Ashehu ish asher loy hulach loy umad if a Moshe leitzin v'hoyu ke'etshu silapagamayim. The entire story is alluded to in this chapter. Psalms 1, whoever has eyes let him see, and whoever has a heart let him understand what on earth is happening. Rebbe Noson's commentary, the secret of the story is alluded to in chapter 1 in the Psalms. Asher ish asher loy hulach, fortunate is the man who has not walked the path of the wicked and the path of the just. These are the aspects of the path mentioned in the story that have the dust that is sprinkled, etc. And he will be like a tree planted by streams of water, which give its fruits in its season, and its leaves. And all that he does will prosper. This refers to the tree in the story, that all of its fruits and leaves, everything in its entirety, are all very beneficial as mentioned. Examine and you will find more illusions. Fortunate is the man who has not walked, for initially he could not walk. Lo amad has not stood, for later on he could not stand either. If a Moshe leitzin, and in the company of scorners, refers to the settlement of the mockers who make mockery, etc. as mentioned. Like chaff which the wind drives away, refers to the wind that carries away the dust. And all of this is only a few superficial allusions that he, Rebbe נחman, enlightened our eyes with a little bit in order to somewhat understand and comprehend the extent to which these things reach. But the things are still sealed in utter concealment, for all of these stories that he, Rebbe נחman, told are very, very high above human comprehension and hidden from the eye of all living creatures, etc. נחman Yeuman. Tale 4, the king who decreed conversion, the story of miracles. Once there was a king who decreed religious exile of the country, that is, whoever wanted to remain in the country had to convert, otherwise he would be expelled from the country.